Good afternoon, everybody. Sarah, Beautiful Disaster. It's my channel. I'm sure you guys all know that by now. All 9 of you who have subscribed, and thank you very much for liking videos and checking in with me and commenting and chatting. So today is May 18th of 2018, and I'm thinking back. And I have been for the last, you can tell on my face, like, this is partially Benadryl, partially allergies, and partially complete exhaustion. But, because I haven't been sleeping very well. I generally don't this time of year. But, so I was just talking with I commented on something, and I thought it was good to expand on this particular thought. I believe strongly in telling people how you feel when you feel it. I believe strongly in letting people know when you care about them, letting people know when you love them, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that you're keeping locked up inside of yourself and because you're afraid to tell someone something. The problem is that most of us think we have time when we don't. We often make the mistake that we have all the time in the world. We're young. Nothing can happen to us. I'm almost 33, and I'm well past the 10-foot tall and bulletproof phase of my life. I am, I think, infinitely more aware of my mortality now than I even was a couple of years ago. 5 years ago tomorrow was the last time I ever saw my dad alive. That's hitting me hard right now. It's funny because whenever I talk about grief, I don't talk about my dad very often. My dad passed away from cancer 5 years ago. And, it'll be 5 years ago in June. And I flew out to Michigan in May to see him. And we both knew he was getting sicker, and we knew he was getting sicker, and we knew it was coming. So it was, I was flying back out there for the sole purpose of seeing my dad before he passed away, which we both knew. And I think we all knew, although some of us were ignoring it or trying to. I think we were trying to, you try to stay positive. But yeah, I mean, there's that. My dad and I had a tumultuous relationship, I would say. Towards the end, it was better. We'd fixed things a lot. But my dad, we had very different personalities. My father was a very negative person. And I can remember my dad sitting me down when I was in college and telling me that, people like me who are optimistic and positive and try really hard to be, how I am. I try really hard to help people and to be a light in the darkness. That's kind of how I've always looked at myself, or tried really hard to. And my dad told me people like me were what was wrong with the world. That was kind of the epitome of what our relationship was like. My father spent the entirety of my life trying desperately to make me see realism, to make me see reason, and that often came across as my dad knocking everything I ever loved or anything that I felt good about myself. So when he passed away, that all kind of came to a head. I mean, he apologized to me for everything that he'd ever done, and I told him the truth, that he wasn't perfect, but he was my dad. And we made amends right there. And I feel guilt for that sometimes, that it took that long. That, I didn't wake up one day and go, I should really talk to my dad about this. Because I think as young, it's funny because 5 years ago I was only, 27? No, yeah, I was almost 28 when my dad passed away. I wasn't naive, but I thought I had more time. I really did. I really thought I had more time to make things work out right eventually. And I didn't. And I should have known better. When Alex died, it was different. It was, because he'd been sick for so long, we'd had the opportunity to have those talks. But there towards the end, okay, so naturally, I'm a very lovey-dovey, sentimental person. I think almost everybody who knows me knows this, but it gets locked up. Alex was as well, but he locked it up even tighter than I did. The last couple of months he was alive, though, it started to, like, one of the last things he ever said to me was, "You're just gonna have to deal with me being sappy for a while because you're just too fucking awesome." And I should have been telling you that from the get-go. It's funny because that's when you really feel like you're loved by somebody. That's when you really, that for me was when it, like, I knew Alex loved me, don't get me wrong. I knew my dad loved me in his own way. But it's just one of those things where, do yourself a huge favor. Don't wait for someone's obituary or someone's eulogy to tell the world how you feel about somebody. To tell people that you care about how you feel about them. Because trust me, when they're not here to talk back to you anymore and to get that validation that they already knew it anyway, that shit sticks. That, like, I remember those conversations with my dad, and I remember those conversations with Alex. I remember them to the word. But I never got a chance to say I was, like, it's the shit you don't get to say that becomes a problem later on. Not the shit you do. The thing is that the shit you say and the things that you do, your actions, those speak louder than anything you can say to people, but I guarantee you it's still nice to hear it every now and again. I can't tell you how many times I've wished I could talk to my dad in the last 2 years. Because for as negative as my dad was, he was also a massive stone in my life. My dad, like, I knew if something bad was happening and my dad wasn't losing it, that everything was gonna be okay. Like, my dad was my emotional cornerstone when it came to the bad shit happening. If dad wasn't okay, then something was really wrong. When dad wasn't losing it, then okay, this is gonna pass, it's all gonna be okay. I miss that in my life. I miss being able to put in a phone call or a message on Facebook because my dad couldn't talk really well there at the end. I miss being able to put that message in on Facebook and go, "Dad, I need help. I don't know what to do." And I feel like I've empowered myself enough that I do know what to do now in a lot of instances, but there's still that thing every now and again where I get I just need a little bit of reassurance, and I don't really have that so much anymore. It's, and then Alex, right before he passed away, we were walking out of the hospital right before he passed away, because, he'd been in for a month, and we were leaving the hospital after a month-long stay, and we were getting ready to do the surgery that eventually killed him, and he goes, "Here, stop for a minute," and he walked into the gift shop, and he was in there for like 5 times. He goes, "No, stay here, don't come in with me." And it's like, okay. We'd been down in the gift shop, doing his walks every day. And what I didn't know is he'd picked out a gift for me, and we were going and picking it up. And he walks out, and I remember the look on his face, and he hands me, and I still have it upstairs on my desk, he hands me this little butterfly. It's about this big. And it's all different colors, and I love butterflies. It's one of my favorite things. It has been since I was a little kid. And it just said, "Believe in yourself" at the bottom. And he put it in my hand, and he curled my hand around it. And he goes, "No matter what happens, I need you to remember that." And as a significant other, when you're dealing with somebody who's in that headspace, for me, my focus was only one thing: keep him positive and keep him solid. I went rock solid for that last month and a half. or that last month especially, when he was in the hospital and then right before he passed away, I tried really hard to be emotionless for the entirety of that time, but it was very difficult. But I still, like, even that, I can't tell you how much you're going to regret it if you don't open up to people. I can't tell you how much you're going to regret it if the people in your life don't know exactly how you feel when you're feeling it. And I'm not saying you have to be like all over people. I'm not saying send sentimental things all the time, but for the love of the gods, if you don't know that someone knows how you feel about them, you need to let them know. Because eventually, one day, you're going to get that phone call, or they're going to get that phone call, and one of you will be gone. And there's no going back. There's nothing you can do. There's no changes you can make. There's no amount of grief in this world that can change your past. So don't wait. I wish every day I hadn't. So, yeah, just a little PSA for today. Bye.